We all have our own respective poisons when it comes to what kind of art and media we like to enjoy, but there's always been something that kind of stuck in the back of my mind. Why? So what I wanted to do in the series is take a look at the things that define our favorite shows by analyzing their highest rated episodes and finding out, are they really worth their number one ratings, or have they actually aged like milk? So I thought it might be fun to start with one of my favorite long-running series of all time, South Park. Their highest rated episode is the infamous Scott Tenorman Must Die. When most people think back on this episode, they're probably thinking of the ending, the twist, the chili, the finger, the tears. But in my mind, this episode is much more effective in its reveal of how chillingly depraved and low Cartman is willing to go. This is probably his ultimate villain episode, but we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. We'd be hard-pressed to say that, before this episode, Cartman was just a good kid. He wasn't. He was still the ignorant megalomaniac that he's always been. But this episode, Season 5, Episode 4, the 69th episode overall, nice, always sort of stuck out to me as something of a turning point for his character. He starts this episode off as the same naive child we've seen him be many times throughout the series. Kind of. You see, it turns out that Cartman has finally hit puberty. Cartman bought pubic hair from an older kid named Scott Tenorman for $10. Unfortunately for Cartman, he quickly discovers that it's a scam when the pubes turn out to be completely ordinary hair. This is actually real hair scanned in from the back of the neck of Adrian Beard, South Park's lead storyboarder, which is a lot less disgusting than it could have been. So right off the bat, we have totally on-brand South Park humor. From here, we see Cartman actually beginning to concoct his ultimate revenge plan, or at least his first ultimate revenge plan. He tries to embarrass Scott by pretending to dub over Radiohead.
That's an interesting question, Kurt. But first, I'd just like to say that I really hate this kid named Scott Tenorman. He's stupid. Yeah, I hate Scott Tenorman too.
But Scott presses his luck by showing a video of Cartman pretending to be a pig in an attempt to get his money back. From here, all hell eventually breaks loose, with Cartman orchestrating the killing of Scott's parents, grinding them up, making them into chili, feeding them to Scott, and also getting actual Radiohead there to make fun of Scott when they see him crying. It's dark, it's diabolical, it's borderline Shakespearean levels of petty revenge. By the end of this episode, we see Cartman as less of a comedic dick and more as an absolutely evil maniac. A huge part of what works so well in this episode comes down to what I refer to as tonal whiplash. The episode seamlessly transitions from dumb, absurdist comedy.
Who's out there?
Nick, for Christ's sake, stop jacking it.
I can't. Don't think I don't see you. I know who you are, and I'm calling the police. I gotta get out of here.
To straight horror, back to comedy, and back to horror throughout the final scene of this episode. The absurdness of Cartman trying to train a pony to bite off Scott's penis is such a dumb thing that it lures even you, the viewer, into thinking that it might be the kind of failure of a plan that a kid might come up with. But then we hard cut to Scott finding his mother's finger in the chili. Straight up horror. Something that sticks with everyone who watches the episode. As you're sitting with that and trying to process it, we then swap back to using comedy to cut through the horror overtones, as Radiohead shows up to laugh at Scott as he cries, and finally the ultimate horror villain move, when Cartman ends up literally drinking the tears off of Scott's face as the entire town just sort of stares on in horror. By the time the credits hit, you're kind of stuck there trying to figure out, do you laugh? Do you recoil at the absolute horror you've seen? Was it funny, horrific, both? I think it's that sort of tension, the inability to sort of place where the episode lands on that spectrum, that makes this episode feel extra effective. The horror and comedy both feed off of and fuel each other. Something that also jumps out to me as sticking out in this episode is that we actually don't have a B-plot for it, which is actually pretty rare for South Park as a whole. Other episodes can have 2 or even 3 separate plot lines happening, but this episode fully focuses in on Cartman's struggle and eventually revenge. One story, one objective, and each and every bit and joke and seemingly unrelated thing all end up coming together at the end of the episode for the ultimate chilly reveal.
Do you like it? Do you like it, Scott? I call it Mr. and Mrs. Tenorman chili.
It's actually kind of amazing that there are no jokes or moments left by the wayside here. Everything serves the ultimate goal. Basically, no filler once the episode gets going. Every joke's a setup. Nothing really comes out of nowhere. Radiohead, Scott's parents being sent to save the ponies and ultimately being killed. You can go back and see the start of everything in this one. It takes a lot for an episode to become one of the most infamous in a series like South Park, but it takes more to be maybe the most important. And somehow Scott Tenorman Must Die manages to do both, and in the process kind of shapes how the series would exist going forward. As I've said already, before this episode, Cartman was an asshole, but by the end of this, he's unrepentantly evil. Really sets the stage for anything Cartman wants to do in the future. Nothing is off the table anymore. And I mean, that makes sense after you see someone feed another kid their parents. This opened the world for them in terms of plot lines. And as if that wasn't enough, they even ended up bringing this entire plot line back up years later. In episode 200 and 201, we see the return of Scott Tenorman, who is finally taking his revenge against Cartman. And we actually end up getting the reveal that Scott's father, who Cartman had killed and turned into chili, was actually also Cartman's biological father. Meaning that in that episode where Cartman is hell-bent on revenge, he actually killed his own father and fed him to his own half-brother. And Cartman takes that knowledge about as well as you'd expect. He's absolutely destroyed because this all means that he's technically part ginger. Terrifying. So the question again all comes back to the one we had at the start. Does this hold up as South Park's best episode? I and many others would say yes. This isn't just seen as one of South Park's best, it's frequently touted as one of the best episodes of any series ever, period. Critics loved it, fans loved it, and it sent ripples down the line for South Park, allowing them to do darker things with their main characters, allowing them to be unrepentantly evil or have bigger character arcs. I think that without Scott Tenorman Must Die, we wouldn't have South Park as we know it today. And if that isn't the mark of the best episode of a series, I don't know what else could be. But anyways, this has been 10K Bill, and thanks for watching. Comment down below what you'd like to hear me talk about next. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, and of course, make sure you subscribe for all your entertainment-related content.